It's April 24th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with the medical services shutdown here in South Korea. Medical school professors who turned in their resignation letters a month ago will now be able to start leaving their hospitals starting Thursday. Some leading hospitals are also halting outpatient services and surgeries once a week. South Korea's very first nano-satellite, nano-satellite, launched from Mahia, New Zealand just a few hours ago. nano-satellite is the first of 11 nano-satellites that will form a satellite constellation to monitor and take images of the Korean peninsula. The Israel-Hamas war entered its 200th day on Tuesday, and tensions are yet again on the rise in Gaza, with the fighting between the Israeli army and Hamas intensifying. It's been 1 month since the medical school professors submitted resignation letters in protest against the government's plan to increase the medical school admissions quota. That means they can now actually walk away from their posts, and some medical services are also being shut down. Our Park Gon-woo reports.
Professors from leading hospitals nationwide have decided to halt all outpatient services and surgeries once a week due to fatigue resulting from the prolonged resident doctors' walkout. The Emergency Committee of the Seoul National University Medical Professors Council said on Tuesday that this will take effect for them from April 30th. On the same day, the Emergency Council of Ulsan University Medical Professors also announced that resignations will begin this Thursday as scheduled beforehand, and those who are unable to resign immediately will be halting medical services once a week from May 3rd. But essential services such as emergency and intensive care are not expected to be affected. This is seen as a new strategy by the senior doctors to pressure the government ahead of finalizing the 2025 medical school admissions quota at the end of this month. With medical professors' resignations set to take effect this Thursday, patient anxiety is escalating. Since March 25th, professors have submitted their resignations in support of the resident doctors' protest. In response, the Korea Alliance of Patients organization issued a statement on Monday urging the professors to continue providing essential care. At a Tuesday briefing, Senior Presidential Secretary for Social Affairs Jang Sang-yoon expressed disappointment over the doctors' boycott of the newly created Special Committee on Medical Reform.
We regret that the Korean Medical Association is not participating in this crucial multi-sector body, which aims to shape the future of our nation's healthcare, and that the Korean Intern Resident Association has not yet taken a stance. We are hopeful for a change before the committee's launch.
Chang also stressed that the government remains open to dialogue if the medical community provides a well-substantiated, unified proposal on the medical school quota increase. Currently, the doctors' organizations are calling for the government to completely reconsider the plan. On Tuesday, Lee Myung-taek, the president-elect of the Korean Medical Association, said on social media that officials responsible for the ongoing standoff, including the second Vice Health Minister Bang Min-soo, must be dismissed before any further talks can take place. The Health Ministry, however, said that linking the doctors' return to work to the dismissal of specific officials was unreasonable. Park Gon-woo, Arirang News.
Less than 2 hours ago, South Korea successfully put into orbit its first domestically made Earth observation satellite. Our An Sung-jin explains in detail what this means.
A rocket launches into space, carrying its payload from South Korea. That payload is an Earth observation nano-satellite developed by the Satellite Technology Research Center at the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. It's being taken into space by U.S. company Rocket Lab's lightweight Electron orbital rocket, which was launched on Wednesday morning from Mahia, New Zealand. That rocket was also carrying an advanced composite solar sail system created by the U.S. National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Korea's nano-satellite separated from the rocket 50 minutes after launch and is set to come into contact with the Korea Aerospace Research Institute 4.5 hours after launch at around noon Korean time. The satellite named Nano-sat-1 is just the beginning of the South Korea's mission Beginning of the Swarm, which aims to establish a satellite constellation network by 2027 by adding 10 other satellites. Weighing less than 100 kilograms, it will be used to observe the Earth, using a high-resolution optical camera from an altitude of 500 kilometers. The Science Ministry stated that through the satellite cluster, not only will the country be able to quickly respond to natural disasters and security threats, but it could also reduce costs needed to purchase satellite images from overseas. Starting in May 2020 and running until December 2027, the project, funded through the Science Ministry, will cost over 230 billion won or $168 million. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
Despite Israel withdrawing most of its ground troops from the Gaza Strip, the battle between the Israeli army and Hamas has once again re-intensified. Lee Seung-jae has more.
The Israeli military carried out its most powerful airstrikes in weeks across Gaza Strip on Tuesday. According to Reuters, Israeli soldiers ordered residents to evacuate, telling civilians that they were in a dangerous combat zone. Residents in the region also said that there had been non-stop bombardments by Israeli tanks and fighter jets. This comes as the Israeli military last week began moving tanks into Beit Hanun on the northeast edge of the Gaza Strip. It's also been nearly 4 months since Israel halted its offensive in the northern enclave after claiming that Hamas had lost control of the region. Despite the Israeli military withdrawing most of its troops from southern Gaza earlier this month, leaving behind only one brigade, airstrikes and ground offensives were also reported in central and southern regions of the Gaza Strip. Hamas has reorganized its battle lines and restarted its resistance against Israeli forces, firing rockets toward southern Israel. In a video message aired on Al Jazeera to mark the 200th day of the war, a spokesman for Hamas said that Israel had suffered nothing but humiliation and defeat and urged an escalation of the war on all fronts. The Israeli military, on the other hand, slammed the Palestinian militant group for targeting Israeli civilians, while emphasizing that its military follows international law and takes feasible precautions to mitigate civilian harm. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Talks on how much South Korea and the U.S. will each pay to keep American troops stationed in South Korea are ongoing over in Hawaii. Will they be able to strike an early deal? We're joined by Chris Kiskihill from VOA this morning. Hello there, Chris.
Good morning to you.
Good afternoon to you. Chris, what are the two sides looking to get out of the three-day discussions? Let's start with the U.S.
Well, we're talking about the Special Measures Agreement, or SMA, and the current 6-year one expires at the end of next year, 2025. And now this covers the more than 28,000 American troops that are stationed in South Korea as part of the effort to deter nuclear armed North Korea. Now, in a statement, Linda Specht, who is the special advisor and lead negotiator for security agreements at the U.S. State Department, and she's leading the U.S. delegation in these negotiations this week in Hawaii, she said the United States seeks a fair and equitable outcome to the Special Measures Agreement discussions for both countries that will strengthen and sustain the U.S. ROK alliance. Back to you.
Right. What did the South Korean side have to say then ahead of the meeting?
Well, the South Korean Foreign Ministry had very similar goals in their statement. They said the government will proceed with consultations with the stance that our defense cost sharing should be carried out at a reasonable level for establishing conditions for the stable stationing of U.S. forces in Korea and strengthening the Korea-U.S. combined defense posture. Now, their delegation is led by Lee Tae-woo, who is a senior diplomat and former consul general in Sydney that is leading that delegation that's meeting in Hawaii this week. Now, as you know, South Korea began shouldering the cost of the deployment, used to fund local labor and hire workers, the construction of military installations and other logistic supports in the early 1990s.
Right, and what's so notable about the talks this time that they're taking place earlier than usual. Is it safe to say it's because of the possibility of former U.S. President Donald Trump making a White House comeback?
Well, these negotiations are taking place 20 months before the expiration of the current SMA. Now, this is a break from the norm, as the negotiations on successor pacts usually are held right before they're set to expire. But a senior Biden administration official said in March that talks were on track and ahead of schedule, but that the U.S. did not see November as a hard deadline. And as you know, current President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump are set to face off in the November election here in the U.S.
Right, we do have to stress that it does take some time to come to an agreement every time they take those discussions. Now, some analysts are also saying that Trump may throw away the 2026 deal that is coming out of Hawaii this time. Now, if he does get elected, is that so? Can such a possibility not be ruled out?
Well, you'll recall how contentious the negotiations were in 2019 when Trump demanded that Seoul pay as much as $5 billion per year in this cost-sharing agreement, and he accused South Korea of going on a free ride on U.S. taxpayers' dollars. Now, the U.S. and South Korea sides struggled for months to reach a deal before Seoul agreed to increase its contribution by 13.9% over the previous 2019 pact, and Seoul had paid about $920 million annually up to that point. And that was the biggest annual rise in nearly 2 decades. Now, a senior South Korean presidential official said last month Seoul expects no fundamental shift in relations, even if U.S. voters elect a new president, but they are hoping for progress in this new defense cost-sharing agreement as the year progresses. Back to you.
Right. It was always a struggle for the South Korean side to come to an agreement during the Trump administration back then. Now, Chris, what outcome is expected for the deal this time? I know it's hard to predict, though.
It may be hard to predict, but I mean, this is an agreement that has been one of the hallmarks of the U.S.-South Korea relationship for decades. So it's not expected that there are going to be any major hangups with the Biden administration. And, you know, as I said before that, those talks seem to be progressing on track, and we'll see if there's any major hangups as the week progresses.
Right. The discussions are taking place for 3 days over in Hawaii. But Chris, how long should we expect the discussions to last this time?
Well, we'll just have to see how it goes. I mean, last time it took months to reach an agreement in 2019. But since they're meeting 20 months early, hopefully they'll make some good ground in this week, and then they'll build upon that ground, and then they'll come to an agreement. But as far as the timetable, both sides haven't said anything about a timetable, but at least they are getting ahead of the game with the agreement set to expire at the end of next year.
All right, Chris, thank you so much for the coverage this morning. We appreciate it as always.
Good to be with you.
President Yoon Suk-yeol hosted his Romanian counterpart Klaus Iohannis at the Yongsan office on Tuesday. There, the two sides agreed to bolster cooperation on defense, nuclear power plants, and more. Our presidential office correspondent Oh Soo-young reports.
South Korea and Romania agreed to strengthen their strategic bilateral ties, inking deals to cooperate on defense weaponry and nuclear power plants. That's according to a joint statement released by President Yoon Suk-yeol and his Romanian counterpart Klaus Iohannis following their summit at the Yongsan presidential office on Tuesday. Building on their existing bilateral consultations on defense-related issues, the two nations agreed to ramp up cooperation in jointly producing military equipment and defense technology, and establish working-level talks between the two sides to address pertinent issues. The two also agreed to work together to address cybersecurity and showed interest in advancing negotiations for the Korea-European Union Security Partnership. Another key outcome was nuclear energy, as Seoul seeks opportunities for its companies to win contracts to build small modular reactors abroad. The two governments signed a memorandum of understanding to establish nuclear energy cooperation, including on nuclear facility enhancement, nuclear fuel, nuclear waste management, as well as personnel development and information on supply chains. While committing to non-proliferation and the civil use of nuclear power, they agreed on the importance of nuclear technology in meeting global net zero targets, with Romania backing South Korea's carbon-free energy initiative. The two nations will also increase cooperation on infrastructure development, based on a deal reached last May between Busan Port Authority and Romania's Port of Constanța. Based on their shared values of democracy, human rights and the rule of law, the two countries agreed on the need to strengthen multilateralism, especially in the face of global security challenges. They condemned North Korea's illegal nuclear and missile programs, calling for its denuclearization and the human rights of its oppressed citizens. Seoul and Bucharest also criticised Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine, agreeing to ramp up collective pressure on Moscow through restrictive measures. Amid global supply chain disruptions and the ongoing transition to green energy, the two countries agreed to build on South Korea and the EU's frameworks, including on free trade, economic security, and green and digital partnerships. With bilateral ties stretching back to 1990, upgraded to a strategic cooperation in 2008. This marks the first time in 16 years that a Romanian leader has visited South Korea. Following his summit with Yoon and a meeting with Prime Minister Han Duck-soo, Johannes will visit power plant builder Tusan Energies' Changwon factory on Wednesday before he leaves for Romania on Thursday. 오수영, Arirang News.
A rollout for K-Pass, a cashback system for public transportation across South Korea, starts today. Now, the project, launched alongside the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport, will begin issuing the K-Pass cards on Wednesday before the official start date for use on May 1st. K-Pass is a transportation card that gives cash back for a maximum of 60 trips on public transport per month if used at least 15 times per month. Low-income users can receive a 53% refund, while people aged 19 to 34 can get 30%. 20% reimbursement is given to all other cardholders.
Good morning, I'm Kim Si-young, and now we turn off to stories from around the world. We begin today in France, where 5 migrants died in a failed attempt to cross the English Channel in an inflatable boat on Tuesday. According to a local official, a 7-year-old girl, a woman and 3 men died in the incident, which involved a small boat carrying 112 people near the French resort town of Wimereux. The overcrowded boat reportedly hit a sandbank, causing a number of passengers to fall into the water. A patrol boat was immediately dispatched to the scene, where rescuers found several people unconscious. 47 of the passengers were rescued, but 50 remained on board the boat and decided to continue the crossing. Only hours earlier, the UK's controversial Rwanda Bill was passed, aimed at discouraging illegal migrants from crossing the English Channel by sending them to Rwanda. So far this year, over 6,000 migrants and refugees have already crossed the dangerous sea route from France to the UK. Taiwan has had more than 200 earthquakes since Monday afternoon, the largest registering at 6.3 magnitude. The country's Central Weather Administration said that the quakes were aftershocks from the devastating 7.2 magnitude earthquake of April 3rd. Around 3 weeks after the April 3rd earthquake, which killed at least 17 people, Taiwan's Hualien County has been hit again by dozens of quakes. The Hualien Fire Department began cleaning up efforts on Tuesday following the additional quakes, while no casualties were reported. The Taiwanese government closed schools and workplaces in the region on Tuesday. The director of Taipei Seismological Center, Wu Chen-fu, said that the quakes were a concentrated release of energy, that there may be still be additional weaker earthquakes in the coming days. Now to Malaysia, where 2 Navy helicopters collided in mid-air during a naval parade rehearsal on Tuesday morning, killing all 10 crew members. The AW139 Maritime Operations helicopter and the Eurocopter Fennec crashed during training at the Lumut Naval Base ahead of celebrations for the 90th anniversary of the Royal Malaysian Navy on Saturday. The crew members, who were all under the age of 40, died at the scene. Defence Minister Mohammed Khaled Nordin said that the investigations are underway. A guitar played by Beatles legend John Lennon is set for auction after having been lost for 50 years. The 12-string acoustic guitar was found in the attic of a home in the UK by the son of its current owners. The guitar, which featured in the group's Help and Rubber Soul sessions, goes under the hammer at the Music Icons auction event at New York's Hard Rock Cafe on May 29th. The organizer, Julian's Auctions, said that the guitar, an early 1960s Hootenanny acoustic guitar, is expected to fetch a price exceeding its estimate of $600,000 to $800,000 US.
Good morning. Spring warmth was replaced by heavy rain this morning. Right now, rain clouds are passing through central and Jeollado provinces. 5 to 20 millimeters of rain is in the forecast for most regions, along with thunderstorms and strong winds. Please brace for heavier rain during the first half of the day before the skies clear in the afternoon. Today's rain will bring down the highs in central regions and Jeollado provinces. Seoul only see a high of 17 degrees Celsius, but strong winds will make it feel cooler. It looks like it's going to rain all day, but actually sunshine should return later in the day from Jeollado. Gwangju sees a high of 19 degrees Celsius, Busan topping out at 21 degrees. Don't leave your umbrellas behind today. Pleasant spring weather returns tomorrow, then it will only get warmer as we head towards the weekend. We could even have a glimpse of summer weather again this weekend. With that in mind, let's take a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. We'll be back tomorrow for Thursday's edition at the same time, 9 a.m. Korea time.
Welcome. (24시간) 불이 꺼지지 않는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니? 한국에 오면 먹어야죠. 먹어도 끝이 없는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니? 하나, 둘, 셋.
Hey, Mr. Cupid, look my way. Make sure you listen to what I say. I may be stupid or quite naive.
끝없이 쏟아지는 포토스팟. 휴대폰 한 대로 감당할 수 있겠니?
Arrow straight through my heart.
웰컴. (24시간) 불이 꺼지지 않는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
한국에 오면 먹어야죠.
먹어도 먹어도 끝이 없는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
We're here to make a new type of news.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every day. We are News Generation.
Making news just for you. It's April 24th here in Seoul. I'm Shin Yeun, and you're watching News Generation. Joining me in the studio is Choi Ji-hee.
Good morning.
Good morning, and Kwon Ju-yeon.
Happy Hump Day.
Happy Hump Day. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of people in their 20s and 30s. As usual, let's start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending on social media over the past 24 hours. A study published in the Annals of Internal Medicine on Monday found that hospitalized women are less likely to die or be readmitted if they're treated by female doctors. The study found that among people aged 65 and older, only 8.15% of women treated by female physicians died within a month. This was slightly lower than 8.38% of women who died after being treated by a male physician. Though the difference seems slim, researchers said the gap could save 5,000 women's lives each year. The study said female doctors seem to be better at communication and pay more attention to their patients, which turned out to be more beneficial. Moving on, the Personal Information Protection Commission, which is Korea's private information protection watchdog, has requested that Chinese e-commerce giants comply with Korea's laws on personal data protection. During a meeting with Beijing officials last week, the PIPC's vice chairperson Choi Jang-hyuk pointed out how Chinese e-commerce firms like AliExpress and Temu have emerged as major players in Korea. According to WiseApp Retail Goods, the number of monthly users of AliExpress reached 8.18 million in February. That was a 130% jump from a year ago. Temu has also emerged as the fourth biggest online shopping mall here in the country. Since the meeting, the PIPC is to monitor how AliExpress and Temu have been collecting consumer data and make sure that they abide to all laws related to personal data. Moving on, YouTube is tightening its grip on monitoring content, especially so that inappropriate content that isn't suitable for minors is not easily distributed. As of now, violent and sexually explicit content can be watched through the platform. And according to a survey of around 1,000 high school students conducted by the Korea Youth Policy Institute, around half of those surveyed had experience watching movies that require parental guidance. To respond to growing concerns and complaints from parents, YouTube has announced that it will strengthen its restricted mode function that automatically blocks harmful content for minors. Now, this function hasn't yet been rolled out to its fullest extent, and experts also stress that it's up to the parents and the education system to teach what proper media literacy looks like from a young age. And here at the studio, Ju-yeon is a mother of 2 sons, which is why I would like to ask her, do you agree that there's a lot of inappropriate content that your sons might be susceptible to, especially since YouTube is so easy at hand? And has that ever posed a concern to you, and what did you do about it?
Well, there are so many violent clips on YouTube, I do believe so. So I am concerned about what he watches. The other day, I was watching a cartoon with him. It was just a normal children's cartoon, but suddenly a violent material popped out or popped up in the screen in different language, in Russian and different language as well. So, and I also heard that one expert that he said teenagers should never ever watch violent materials until he or she becomes an adult, because their brains are fresh, clean, and still developing, and could negatively impact their mental well-being for the long period of time. And you know, so what are adults doing? We should make and create a safe online platform for them and keep an eye on them, what they're watching all the time. And also the YouTube, they are earning lots of money from advertisements and membership, premium membership. So they should put more money, emphasis on the monitoring, sensing system, and also enforce the age limits as well.
I completely agree. It shouldn't be just up to YouTube, but also the parents. I think both sides need to be on board with this. Then I think we've been mentioning in the past that media literacy seems to be so important, and promoting it from a young age seems to be key. But how can we do that?
Well, I think we should introduce basic media literacy concepts as early as preschool or even kindergarten, and teach children about different types of media and how to critically engage with them. Perhaps also use interactive and engaging methods like games and quizzes to make learning media literacy more enjoyable and relatable for these children. And I think it's important to teach key skills, crucial in today's digital age, because kids these days, they're growing up in a flood of content, digital content. Critical skills such as critical thinking and fact-checking are important for these kids to know growing up with these digital content.
I completely agree, and especially since they have gadgets at such a young age now. I've seen so many parents give their, maybe even toddlers, even before they go to preschool, to watch different YouTube content on their phones, which is why it's really important to teach media literacy from a young age. And speaking of media, I don't know about you guys, but there's one habit that I want to personally fix, and it's watching shorts or reels before I fall asleep. I always start with just wanting to watch one good video, but then I end up watching rows and rows of different reels, and then it goes on for hours. And by the looks of it here in the studio, I think our panelists can relate. Among the various videos I enjoy, reaction videos keep popping up as well. So I'd like to start our discussion here. Chihi, could you first walk us through on what these reaction videos are like these days and why they're growing in popularity?
Sure. So in recent times, a new form of content, just like you said, these reaction videos or reaction content has gained immense popularity, especially on YouTube. And it involves providing commentary or evaluation of entertainment shows with a particular focus on dating programs. Now, the younger audience seems to be more interested in this kind of content, which includes criticizing the behavior of the so-called villains in the show and analyzing the psychology of the participants, who are quite difficult to understand in terms of how they act on these shows. And many YouTubers engage in this form of content, and it's become quite diverse in nature as well.
Yeah, and I've seen these reaction videos myself, and I think the biggest advantage is you can see their original content, but also the reaction from either celebrities, different panelists, and the way they react is also entertaining itself. Jian, would you like to add on how popular reaction videos are these days?
Of course. Well, many experts analyze the reason why young people, the MZ generations, are so enthusiastic about reaction videos is because it meets their need for connection in a world where face-to-face interactions are less common. You know, these days, many people, the young generations, prefer to meet online rather than, you know, face-to-face meetings. So, but the thing is, they still desire to talk. They would like to talk to someone. They do like to talk to each other. So watching reaction videos, clips, lets viewers relate to YouTubers and talk to each other in the comments. So this is sort of a way, this is kind of a way of connecting with each other, and also sharing their feelings at the same time.
It's a bit more immersive, I guess.
Indeed.
And also with more shorts and reels trending, I think our generation's attention span, unfortunately, has gotten much shorter than before. It's harder for us to commit a full 2 or 3 hours to finish a movie. And to lessen this burden, we're seeing more summary clips come out. So are you familiar with this type of content? And if so, why do you think these summary clips are gaining so much popularity as well?
Right, I'm very familiar with these content, and I've been recommended to watch them as well. And recaps, like you said, have been a popular trend on YouTube for a few years now, really. And they condense a drama episode into a short video, usually 20 to 30 minutes long, or even an hour hour or less for a full whole episode. And some of the most popular YouTubers who do these recaps have over 23 million subscribers, meaning a lot of people watch them. And this trend has expanded beyond videos and even into texts. And even services that summarize videos into texts have gained a lot of popularity as well. And even books, not just videos, are also being adapted into shorter versions, such as 15 to 20-minute versions as well. And I think there is a growing popularity over these shorter content because, like you said, of the shorter attention span that we're seeing among the younger generation. And they prefer watching shorter ones to really be able to look at the result quickly because they're a lot impatient than before.
But also, I think sometimes it's used as a promo effect as well. I might be looking through all these different recap videos and choosing which movie I want to actually watch based on these shorter clips. Now, Chuyun, would you like to add on as to why these summary videos are gaining popularity?
Of course. Well, the popularity of such summary videos is due to the MZ generation's emphasis on 시성비, valuing efficiency in time investment. 시성비 is a Korean term that combines the word 시간, or time, and 가성비, or cost effectiveness. It's a concept of maximizing the benefit, the value of something in relation to the time spent on. So the MZ generation prioritizes efficiency and productivity in relation to time investment. In a fast-paced society, they want to make sure their content choices are worth their time in order to avoid disappointment or failure. You know, these days there's so many things to watch online. We would like to know the ending as well because of the curiosity, but with limited time. So choosing the summary clips are the solution. It's a solution for them.
With the demand for more summary clips, we are seeing a split there. There are summary clips that have the ending to movies or dramas, but for other people like myself who are using this as like an introductory or maybe an appetizer to the actual film, some don't have any spoilers, so I think we're seeing diversification there. And as much as we're seeing an evolution of these different reaction or summary videos, I'm quite curious as to whether you two like them as well, and if so, why and what are your favorites?
Well, to be very honest, I don't really like these condensed forms or recap summary videos because I feel like they spoil the entire purpose of watching a drama or reading a book as their original form, because they miss out on the little nuances or the details that make them enjoyable. And I personally really like watching those details. And in the past, I used to watch reality dating shows, but I would watch them at 1.5 times or twice the speed to really quickly run through them without wasting too much time watching everything. But I wouldn't miss on the details as well. I would just look through them quickly.
Right, so you would half your time as to watching the content, but you didn't want to miss any details out. What about you, Jian?
I love watching those clips. I love it. You know, I think I watch them every single day. I don't have much time to go to the cinema, and I do think sometimes, you know, watching 2-hour film or drama is sort of waste of time, you know, sometimes. So, and I find it enjoyable to watch these kind of contents at 1.5 times speed for the sake of my time efficiency. You know?
Even shorter.
Indeed, indeed. When I watch videos or clips, I think I've never written a comment before in my life.
Oh, really?
But I do read some of them. What kind of issues are controversial, or what kind of jacket is she wearing, you know? And when I upload videos on my YouTube channel, I can see some comments, subscribers engaging in lively discussions with each other in various topics or issues.
And if I may add on, I personally love reaction videos because it's really nice to see what the public is thinking. For instance, if we look at music video reaction videos, you could say, oh, there was a line like that, or as you mentioned, that K-pop idol is wearing this particular uniform or outfit, and I'm like, oh, I never knew that. You get a lot of information from these reaction videos. Now, we asked our viewers if they're also big fans of these types of clips. If you take a look at the screen, you can find out what 3 of them had to share with us. Let's start with User. User says, I often watch content summary videos so that I can save my time. When I find the content interesting through the summarized videos, I sometimes watch the full content. Benny said, for me, I've watched the reaction videos for a bit, for example, K-pop music videos from a fan's perspective, and some sports highlights where some content creators react. Maybe I see the rise of how normal people or fans would react based on their opinions with or without a filter. Jack says, I love reaction videos very much, especially when it's people tasting foreign snacks or listening to a different genre of music. I completely agree with all of our viewers there, but we're now going to hear from an expert as to what this trend means and what we can expect from our generation's demand for reaction and summary videos. We're now going to hear from a professor of internet studies at Curtin University in Australia. It's Professor Crystal Abaddon. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, let me ask you the first question. Why do you think our generation likes watching these so-called reaction or summary videos these days?
Well, your panel has already gone through some of the key points, like being impatient and also wanting to be an active consumer. But I think the most important thing to remember about this generation is that we're always seeking online community in place of being not able to congregate in spaces anymore or feeling detached from people just due to the side effects of urbanization. So for me, the main reason people really enjoy reaction and summary videos is that it encourages active consumption. It encourages you to be attached to the content as you respond to it, but it also allows you to prolong the lifespan of your watching activity. It's not just watching an hour of a K-drama or a concert and going away, but rather you get to have the afterlife with the conversation and find community with people who may enjoy that as well.
I see. Well, then has this content consumption trend changed the production atmosphere or process for content creators as well? If so, how?
Yeah, most definitely. I think we're seeing an increasing casualization of the backdrop of these conversations. Some of them on YouTube started out as 2 or 3 people in a studio, slowly it shifted into them literally in a living room. And these days I'm seeing these reaction videos of people just holding their phones, streaming out of their sofas with the television still playing. It's meant to give us this living room setting that feels more invitational, feels more comfortable, feels more parasocial, so that people are invited into this space. But more importantly, all of this is meant to give us the idea of simulated co-presence, as if we are there, sharing an emotive space, sharing a space in a movie theater, and enjoying this sort of connection, both with the screen, both with the content, and also with the back-end texting with people.
Interesting. So what are some overlooked disadvantages from this type of trend, though?
Well, from the production side and the creator side, obviously one of the first drawbacks is the accusations that it's becoming more lazy. We're seeing fewer and fewer people produce original content. They're basically just reacting to pre-made contents by other people. So there's a bit of accusations around plagiarism as well, because there are only so many ways you can react. The second most effective commentary I've had about this is that we're also literally enforcing these people to have predetermined sets of reactions. You've got to emphasize, exaggerate, and dramatize, because nobody wants to watch someone with a K-drama reaction going, all right, that's great. You're meant to simulate those active feelings of liveliness, but sometimes that can also come across as a bit too forced.
I see. And you've been talking about mostly reaction videos, but if we focus our interview more now to the summary videos, we are seeing a lot of people, including myself, not have that long of an attention span anymore. I mean, we're really used to shorts and reels these days. Now, if we continue to see a trend where we're opting more for these summaries or recaps, do you think it'll have a toll on our attention span and even up to the point of our media literacy?
Well, I suppose that if we are remembering that these people are using some of these summary videos as a teaser or as a selection process, then the good news is that we're thinking of them as being more picky and more active consumers. They don't just want to know who is starring in the film. They'd like to know, is there a plot line? Does this align with my values and morals? I know, for example, there are online communities where people ask, is there a pet in the story? Are they going to be okay or are they going to die? And then they'll avoid these subjects. Parents of grief also have online communities where such teasers help them pick things that do not trigger feelings that they don't want to explore or do not trigger their PTSD. So that is one positive aspect. But of course, as you say, for people who are consuming summary videos in place of the actual contents, then we're seeing new formats that are experienced by people requiring short bursts of contents associated with short bursts of attention span. But this is also linked to the fact in our society today, we're only being afforded these short avenues to consume contents on the bus, on the train, in between meetings, rather than back in the day coming home in the early evening and being able to sit in front of the television for hours.
And before we let you go, Professor, earlier on in our news feed, we talked about how YouTube isn't doing the best at regulating all these adult content or violent content out there. And my concern based on this interview is, as much as we're seeing such a wide array of different content come out, what do you think needs to be better done to educate people from a young age as to having better media literacy and being better protected from dangerous content out there?
So for a lot of the platforms themselves, they have started regulating this by enforcing labels that creators have to put on. If it contains violent content, trigger content, or even these days, even AI content, they're meant to ask, to put the label so people as active consumers know how to treat that information. That said, though, as a consumer, when we're bombarded by so much of this information, those labels might pass us by because it's just at the point of saturation. So it's very important for consumers ourselves to also equip our native knowledge as we navigate these local spaces to find out what triggers me, what is considered good quality content. In this platform, in this prerogative, where can I go to verify the sentiments coming out of this space? Who are the people I trust online that can act as my peer reviewers to make sure that this content is okay to consume?
Those were some great pointers. That was Professor Crystal Abaddon from Curtin University. Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and apart from reaction and summary clips, I'm quite curious as to what type of content you guys enjoy watching, and what do you think we'll be seeing more, especially since we're seeing rapid evolution in terms of video content out there?
Well, apart from reaction videos and summary videos, I like watching News Generation.
Is that okay? That seems very scripted.
I know it was. But all jokes aside, I don't like watching reaction videos per se, like I said earlier, but I remembered I do like watching the reactions of celebrity panels react to the videos that they watch on programs, because I like relating to their reactions, and if their emotional sort of frequency is similar to mine, then I can relate to them very well, and I feel like I feel very close to these celebrities, even though they're not. Anyway, and I think these shorter versions of videos will become increasingly popular among our younger generation, but I do hope that we can really strike a balance between watching these shorter videos as well as the original forms, whether it be videos or even books, because like you said, and like Professor Abaddon said, we are losing our attention span, and I think this can take a toll on our critical thinking skills, as well as it can negatively impact our behaviors as well, and make us more impulsive, which could be quite concerning.
And as you mentioned in the very beginning, I do think I am looking forward for someone making a reaction video for News Generation. Maybe not a summary video because we want them to watch the whole episode. But what about you, Jian?
Yes, I do enjoy watching drama summaries and also the shorts. I tell myself, Jushan, this is going to be your last shorts before going to bed, but I end up watching hundreds more every single night, yes. And I do believe that this popularity, this trend will continue for a while, but because it is inviting. These are exciting and, stimulating contents that gives us a dopamine boost. So we should concern about a popcorn brain. Popcorn brain occurs when one consumes excessive amount of short and attention-grabbing content. It makes us difficult to think deeply and pay attention, focus on some subject. So it's kind of important to think about our mental health before watching or after watching shorts or reels.
Exactly. I think we gave you guys great pointers as to how you can better boost up your media literacy today, and hopefully today's episode can really facilitate that. Now, in the meantime, we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks to Chiji.
Thank you.
And Kwon Ju-yeon.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and thank you everyone for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. We are News Generation.
한국에 오면 먹어야죠.
먹어도 끝이 없는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니? 웰컴. 엄청난 에너지를 춤으로 뿜어내는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니? 웰컴. (24시간) 불이 꺼지지 않는 나라.